His remaining hours, but he faced a frightening moment in Reno, Nevada last night as Secret Service rushed Trump off the stage and security forces stormed the audience after panic in the crowd. Now, what we've learned is what apparently happened is a protester tried to raise a Republicans Against Trump sign. That protester was confronted by people in the crowd, tackled, and someone in the crowd apparently incorrectly yelled that the protester had a gun. The U.S. Secret Service says that no weapon was found, that no one was hurt. Mr. Trump returned to the stage not long after and resumed his campaign pitch. Joining me now from New York is Trump campaign manager Kellyanne Conway. Kellyanne, good to see you. Thanks for joining us.
Hi, Jake. Hi.
So first of all, we're glad everyone's okay. I have to ask, your social media director, Dan Scavino, and a member of Mr. Trump's family, they're retweeting misinformation that this was an assassination attempt. It was not an assassination attempt. Thankfully, should they be spreading this misinformation?
Well, I'm glad you're happy that everybody's okay. That's really the main focus here. It's scary. I mean, all the coverage is usually about our protesters wreaking havoc and making people feel afraid, and this certainly goes both ways. I'm with Mr. Trump and the Secret Service routinely. They do an amazing job. They are absolutely the unsung heroes, I'm sure, for Mrs. Clinton as well and the Secret Service. We really respect those men and women enormously, and I'm glad nobody was hurt, but it does remind you that in these closing days, especially as the polls tighten, many of us are getting more death threats, getting more angry messages on social media and elsewhere, and it's a pretty fraught environment there. I think that's the real focus here. I also just want to point out, because some people are spreading misinformation about the protester, he had canvassed for Hillary Clinton and he had donated to her campaign. So this is a Democratic plant or operative trying to disrupt our rally, and I think that people saw a nimble, resilient Donald Trump, who would be nimble and resilient as president as well, take back to the stage Dan Scavino telling people, we're not going to be stopped, nobody can interrupt this movement. But, you know, if you're Don Jr. and you're on a live TV set while you're watching this unfold, it's pretty rattling to think of what may have happened to your father. So I'll excuse him that.
Except it wasn't an assassination attempt. It was apparently a local voter, a Republican, who says he is supporting Hillary Clinton. He has given money to Hillary Clinton. He has canvassed for Hillary Clinton. Yes. But he says he's a Republican. But most importantly, he was not trying to assassinate anyone. Here's what I'm talking about. Let's put it up. Donald Trump Jr. and Dan Scavino retweeted this, quote, Hillary ran away from rain today. Trump is back on stage minutes after assassination attempt. Again, we're very happy that this was not an assassination attempt, but why is your campaign spreading that it was?
Well, how do you, first of all, that's really remarkable, I have to say, that that's what the storyline is here. I thank you for reminding everybody that the rain chased her away. There weren't a lot of people there at her rally to begin with, and the rain just let them running for cover. I think she's got to sort of travel nonstop with Beyonce, Jay-Z, and the likes of that just to prop her up and get a decent crowd. People, by the way, are there to see Beyonce, not to see her. And, you know, Jake, I want to say, are CNN going to retract all the storylines, all the headlines, all the breathless predictions of the last 2 weeks that it turned out not to be true? The race is over. The path is closed. It's going to be a blowout. You guys retract that, and I'll give a call to Dan Scavino about the retweet.
I never reported anything along those lines. I've always been saying that this was going to be a tight election, and even when Hillary... Who hasn't?
CNN certainly has. CNN certainly has. You know, I love CNN, but you got to be honest here. The lower third, what's always on the chyrons, the panelists, the so-called experts, constantly saying she can't lose, the race is over, the path is narrowed. And you know what? I actually thank you guys in part for that.
I've never heard anybody say the race was over. We've been saying all along that Donald Trump has a path to the presidency, and you can say wow all you want. I've never said that the race was over. We can replay it as many tapes as you want. Let's move on. I want to play.
Tower, Trump campaign manager Kellyanne Conway. Kellyanne, great to see you. So,
thanks, Megyn.
Is it true that Trump has a new campaign strategy in advance of the next debate, which is, as the New York Times put it, practice?
So he did practice and he did prepare before these debates. I think looking toward the next format, the town hall format, we will certainly be taking into account the different logistics and the physicalities involved with that particular setting. I think if Mr. Trump looks back at the first 30 minutes or so of the debate, he'll see some real highlights. His ability to sort of joust and jab with Hillary Clinton over her flip-flopping on TPP, over the disastrous results of NAFTA, that she owns and she and her husband own. And he was really great about that, about jobs going out overseas and jobs going to Mexico and China and to other places where Americans in search of jobs are very disappointed that they're facing everyday unaffordability and they're
but I don't want to relitigate the whole debate. But then what about the hour after that? Because, you know, this isn't me saying this. This is your advisors are saying that he needs to adjust before the next debate. This is, I mean, they're citing many Trump campaign advisors saying he needs to do things differently because he didn't take advantage of many opportunities to hit her on many vulnerable issues, and this is a very tight race. Missed opportunities are costly.
And so if Mr. Trump was guilty of anything Monday night, it was certainly answering the questions as they were asked, and then answering Hillary Clinton.
Taking the bait of every attack she laid for him.
Well, and answering her, and also I think he's gotten very little credit, Megyn, for how gracious he was at the beginning and at the end of the debate. At the very beginning, nobody is covering this. He actually said Secretary Clinton, and then he looked over and he said, should I call you Secretary Clinton? I want you to be happy. It's very important to me. At the end of the debate, after she tried to rough him up over a couple comments he's made over 25 years or so with respect to women, he said, you know, I came prepared to say some rough stuff, but I won't do it because your family's here and your daughter's here. But it's not nice that you're running hundreds of millions of dollars in negative ads against me.
Kellyanne.
And he has a point.
Come on. It's not nice.
Oh,
they are running for president. Of course she's going to hit him with negative ads.
But the ad should be true.
He's out there on the The ads that she's running about him when it comes to his comments on women use his words, Kellyanne.
No,
use his words.
No, but her ads... Okay, but Megyn, why is she spending all this money and not talking about her vision for post-Obamacare?
Because there's two facets of a campaign. You know that better than anybody. You hit your opponent and try to disqualify him or her, and then you sell your own vision. I mean, she's allowed to hit him with negative ads, and he should be hitting her right back, should he not? There goes my bracelet.
Comeback bracelet. Look, so for the debate prep moving forward, he'll continue to prepare. We'll be ready for the town hall format. And I do want to say that he also should recognize that Hillary Clinton practiced and Hillary Clinton was ready with some canned lines. She made sure she was going to get out, and she did. She succeeded in doing that.
Including that bit at the end, which had clearly been rehearsed, and she was ready with it.
That's right. And I think that what Mr. Trump would like to do in the future is, even if the issues are not raised by the moderator or by the opponent, he can talk about Benghazi. He had Mark Geist, a Benghazi hero and survivor.
Well, last night they were talking, I mean, Monday night they were talking about, whatever night that was, they were talking about national security and securing America's future. So obviously her history and that approach was fair game. But that's, I mean, you can give him that, right? He's not a seasoned politician. He hasn't done all these one-on-one debates like she has, over 15. I mean, those sort of rookie mistakes in going to one-to-one are, I think, entirely understandable and forgivable. But, you know, disappointing to his supporters that he didn't, you know, more go for the jugular, and that he so often walked into the traps she was setting. But as for, you know, you raised the question about, you know, he made a couple comments over 25 years. You know that's not true. You know he has repeatedly made comments about women, about their looks, about their size, their weight. Even in this campaign, talking about Carly Fiorina's face, retweeting a negative picture about Heidi Cruz's face, criticizing Hillary Clinton and her look. And Kellyanne, this is an issue for him, is it not?
Well, Megyn, but is that the campaign issue that Hillary Clinton is running on? The answer seems to be yes. Do we not deserve as voters for this woman to tell us whether she thinks Obamacare is a disaster or not, whether she'll take us to single payer, whether she thinks that it should be repealed and replaced as Donald Trump does? Is she ever going to be held to account for an active investigation? She has 5 staffers, including her former chief of staff and her current lawyer, taking the 5th, pleading immunity over an active investigation over
Trump raised that. He raised
over
that
an illegal.
Monday.
No, I mean, well,
but my only point, the only reason I ask you that question is because you're suggesting it was out of line somehow for that issue to come up.
No, I didn't say that. I didn't say that. I'm just wondering why she's spending tens of millions of dollars in negative ads and negative mail pieces and never putting together an aspirational positive vision.
Because she's killing him with women, and she sees an advantage there, and she's trying to exploit it. And my question to you is whether he needs to come up with a better answer than telling Fox and Friends, well, she gained a bunch of weight when she won Miss Universe, and she was a real problem.
Well, now we're conflating different things. What I would say to that is this, that he should speak to America's women based on the issues about which they care. prosperity and security, and he should talk about Obamacare and education, and he should talk about the lies that Hillary Clinton has told over many different decades. And he should also, I think he should brag more about the thousands of women he has employed at the Trump Corporation over decades, and the high positions that they have. They've been promoted. They've been well compensated. He has a great child care plan that no Republican has ever really touched before. I guess it didn't poll well.
He's got
people in this country are struggling. Well, no, it's him. This is his campaign.
No, I'm saying he's got you. He's got, I mean, you know, even Hillary Clinton doesn't have a female campaign manager, and you do a great job.
And he does, and I appreciate that. And let me tell you, when he promoted me to this position, he never mentioned my gender. It wasn't like, oh, gee, let's get a woman out there that will help with women. He hires people based on merit.
That's the interesting thing about him, Kellyanne, is that he does insult women a lot. He insults men a lot, but
And we're back. And I'm back now with Omarosa Manigault and Kellyanne Conway. And so here we go. My question was, what did you think, what was your opinion of those photographs that were retweeted by Donald Trump?
I have to tell you that my opinion of them means that they're insignificant in the context of the terrorist attacks that are going on in Brussels. What we should be talking about is substantial policy issues that are affecting American people, including homeland security, including making sure our borders are tough and safe. So talking about a retweet in the context of a terror attack, it's petty.
But you know what, Omarosa, if we wouldn't be talking about it had the candidate not put it out there. If the candidate wanted to talk about, you know, what happened in Brussels, the attacks that have been happening all over Europe, he would have tweeted something about the attacks in Europe and in Brussels.
He talked about those things,
but instead,
they weren't picked up.
But instead, he's yes, they were. We've seen him on a number of different networks.
Let me just say this.
When the attacks happened, he was on every single network talking about it. We discussed how he said he would bring waterboarding back, that he said that torture, you would get more information out of it. That has been discussed ad nauseum. And so you can't say that we should be talking about other things when the candidate that you support is the one who retweeted that awful picture.
Listen, if he won't defend his wife, he has a right to defend his wife. How do we know he has to defend his wife just as strongly as he will defend this nation? There's no way you can say it's acceptable, Don, for him to allow.
But as a woman, do you think that he should be able to defend his wife by attacking an unflattering photograph of another candidate's wife?
And I don't think he should apologize for defending his wife
in
any way.
Go ahead, Kellyanne.
Sure. Well, then, that's right. If you want to defend your wife, and let's just be very clear, it was not a pro-Cruz super PAC or the Cruz, quote, team that put that picture out there. It was an anti-Trump PAC. There's a huge difference. Number two, and most importantly, if you defend your wife, why do you have to attack someone else's wife? I mean, that's really the core question here. And Omarosa, I hope he takes your advice and goes back to discussing the issues at hand. National security and terrorism are a top issue now to Republican women. He's done a great job over the last year getting his negatives into positive territory, and in the last 3 weeks, they've gone back negative. He's really suffering now among Republican married women, Republican suburban women. 39% of Republican women say they don't want him to win. 70% of all women say that they have an unfavorable opinion of him. And look, there are those who say, if you attack someone else's wife, it is petty, it is rude, it is undignified.
It is.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. So let's agree to that. But you know what? There are other people, Don, who say it's also unnecessary and unhelpful. You're operating from a position of weakness. And if you want to beat Hillary Clinton, you have to look at these polls.
But here's what I have to say about that, and this is what I learned in elementary school.
Correct.
Right? That you can't use the excuse, and this is what Lisa Bloom said last night so eloquently on this show. You can't use the excuse that he did it, somebody else did it first, as an excuse for bad behavior. Two wrongs don't make a right. And Omarosa, you have known Donald Trump for 13 years or so. You say he doesn't have a problem with women, but in that he treats all women the same.
Well, you can just look at his organizations, Don. You can look.
Go ahead. Omarosa, you're still there.
If you look at his organizations, and like you said, I've known him for more than a decade, and I've had an opportunity to not only work with him, to be on shows with him, but to visit his different properties and his business ventures. And women on those properties are paid higher than the men's in most cases. They perform well because there's an environment that's conducive for them to grow. Donald Trump has shown, because of his actions and his hiring practices and building a big empire utilizing the talents of women, that he knows how to create jobs. He knows how to create opportunities. opportunities. If you look at Ted Cruz, he's never created a job. He's never managed a large project.
That's actually
we
not
know
true.
what Donald Trump's leadership skills are. We know what his capabilities are, and we know he'll make a great commander-in-chief.
And so I have to agree with Omarosa at one point, which is I've known Mr. Trump for a bit. I served on one of his condo boards. He's always been very kind to women in my presence, which is why all of this is mystifying to me. And I think that women out there are telling pollsters they don't appreciate a leader who has to get the last word all the time or uses certain words, and it's starting to reflect in the polls about women. If you want to beat Hillary Clinton, folks, you can't have somebody who's currently losing to him by 20 points. So I think
but Hillary is suffering with women.
Before you respond, I'll let you respond.
With women at all.
Omarosa, let me put the poll numbers up, and then you can continue with your response. Okay, so here are the poll numbers, right? There was released this week. It shows Clinton leading Trump 60% to 33% among women in a hypothetical general election. I mean, so.
But how does she explain how she's performing so poorly with millennials, with women and millennials? She's not doing very well in that area. That's something she has to respond to.
She does poorly with men. I mean, Hillary Clinton has a man problem. They distrust her. They dismiss her.
She has a woman problem as well.
Well, not when she's put up vis-a-vis Mr. Trump right now, and I hope that can turn around.
In general, she doesn't have a woman problem.
Not at all against him. Now, Ted Cruz and John Kasich both are beating Hillary Clinton in head-to-head polls, and their gap against Mrs. Clinton vis-a-vis women is much smaller. And it'd be a real shame to sacrifice this election to Mrs. Clinton, given the Secretary Clinton, given Donna Omarosa, that she has a man problem. We could, if she were the nominee for the Democrats, we could recast the whole conversation about the gender gap, not as the Republican Party's problem with women, but as the Democratic Party's problem with men, unless you have her up against someone who is performing poorly among women. So I hope it'll turn around, because the Democrats are quoted everywhere today saying, I just want Trump to keep talking. We're going to run that in ads against him.
Okay, so Omarosa, let me ask you this, because we know each other. Everybody's like, oh my gosh, what's going on? This doesn't mean that we hate
We've never had a fight in 10 years, Don.
Okay, so listen, here's the thing. Please. Donald Trump cruising on his way, sorry, but cruising, that was no pun intended.
Tom, not Ted.
On his way to having the nomination, right, to being the Republican nominee. And he does something like this. I don't know if it's an effort to control the media. I don't know if it's because he's that thin-skinned, or for whatever it is. If you still talk to him and you have his ear in some way in advising him, wouldn't you just say, just shut up and get the nomination, instead of doing all of these petty things that really doesn't bode well for him, especially with women who may end up deciding this election?
I will say to him, because I know his wife and I know how much he loves and cares about her, that he must defend his wife. He cannot allow people to make senseless attacks towards her, and he must defend her. That's what I would say. I don't think he should apologize for defending the love of his life.
A good way of defending your wife, I do have to say, was Donald Trump. Heidi is the love of my life.
Yes.
If he had said, you know, Ted Cruz, Melania is the love of my life, and there's nothing wrong with those pictures. She's a beautiful woman.
But Ted Cruz never attacked Melania.
But anyway, if he had done that, that would have been very classy, taking the high road, and we all would have moved on.
So please don't mistake the facts. Ted Cruz or his campaign or his super PACs posted no pictures of Melania Trump in any ads. That's
so who's spending the $65 million in the Stop Trump movement? Where do you think those dollars are going? Let's not be naive.
That's not
$65 million to stop Donald Trump.
Effort. But you have to be fair. You and others all across Twitter are saying that Ted Cruz and his camp has posted pictures and insulted Melania Trump. I was on the show within the last 3 or 4 weeks. He has not. I never would. I run the largest pro-Cruz super PAC. We would never. In fact, all I do is talk nicely about Mrs. Trump on this.
Kellyanne, let her get.
I'm sorry.
Let her get her point across.
Where's the $65 million that is being spent against Donald Trump going? Tell me.
Okay, let's talk about that.
You can't be naive to think they're not going towards utilizing social media, towards
having
these protesters
coming to rallies. You think the pro-super? Let's just say that it was. All right, Kellyanne is saying it wasn't. Well, you think that this PAC called up Ted Cruz and said, hey, we're going to do this. We need your approval?
Come on, Don. You know, I've been in politics for 20 years. You know it doesn't work like that. It's kind of like a wink and a nod. We know that these candidates are constantly swaying and working in concert with the PAC. But here's the news. Donald Trump doesn't have a PAC. He's self-financing his campaign, and so he's not indebted to anybody.
$2 billion in free media.
And that's...
Well, the Washington Post said last week he's got $2 billion of free media. No.
And he's a star. That's what happens.
And let's make very clear, if you're Ted Cruz, would you rather have a debate about wives or issues? I mean, seriously, if you're a constitutional lawyer arguing before the United States Supreme Court for 9 9 cases. If you came to the Senate against all odds against the establishment, if you are one of the last people standing with Donald Trump from a field that was 17, do you think he wants to talk about health care, education, taxes, destroying ISIS, or he wants to talk about wives? So let's be honest about who created this mess, and why don't we tonight say that's it? I mean, I know Heidi Cruz, I've met Melania Trump. These are wonderful women.
And both of them are beautiful women.
Mothers,
Yeah.
with beautiful women
they're both
inside and out.
wonderful women.
And very
Let me
intelligent
ask you one
women.
last question very quickly. Caroline Cruz is 7. Catherine Cruz is 5. When they Google Heidi Cruz 10, 12, 3, 20 years from now, do you want to be on the side that created this kind of pain? Where do you want them to find? What do you want them to find?
Well, when they Google
see?
it, they'll see the maneuvers that Cruz has used in the past in Iowa. They'll see that he has certainly been a hypocrite
They'll say,
in
oh,
this
Daddy,
situation.
it's your fault.
They're going to see,
sure.
Daddy, come on, you haven't really been playing by the rules. They know
No, I don't
that
think
he's
they'll say that to
underhanded.
their father. I
And
think
so
that's
they'll
a
see
terrible
all of the
comment
full
to
story.
say.
He's got
I
his
do.
hands full, believe me, when dealing with families right now. So let's not go there.
I gave you a nice softball and you struck it out. I really did. I tried to get you
I'm
on the side
going to
of
speak my
Eagles
truth, and
on
you
Good
will
Friday.
never control that.
So you're Omarosa, let's just say you think it's okay. You're okay with that retweet.
With
and
him
what's going
defending
on.
his wife. I'm okay with
No,
him
I'm not saying defending his wife. Everyone
Yes, I'm
defends
okay
their.
with that.
You're okay with the
You're
retweet,
okay
posting the
with that.
picture.
Yeah. Well,
No
I'm not.
problem
I
with
think
that.
it's terrible,
problem.
and
Okay.
no, I have a huge problem with
Okay.
that because
Please
social
tell
media.
Cruz that.
Thank you,
He
Omarosa.
didn't say anything. He didn't.
Thanks, Don.
post anything.
I'll see you in a
Bye.
couple weeks.
Happy Easter.
Thank you, Kellyanne. Maybe this will make that White House Correspondents' Dinner real, where I'll see Omarosa. All right, coming up, Ted